Alright guys, today I'll be reviewing Reaper's Revenge in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I will just give a few disclaimers before we actually dive into here. This will be an exceptionally long video. If you're not in a comfy position with your popcorn ready, then maybe you want to actually get set to actually watch this video, because it's going to be a long one. I already know it. And also, this will be a full in-depth review. So yes, I will talk about spoilers. So just warning you about that right now. This is mainly a video for people that want to hear my take on it, that have already been. You can watch this if you're like a parent of someone who is like wondering, oh, should my kid go here? This may be a good video for you. But if you don't want to know anything about this place, then this might not be the video for you. But with that out of the way, let's dive right into Reaper's Revenge. I'm definitely a person who really likes haunts. I'm definitely not a haunter who like goes to more than 10 haunts a year, just because I can't really. And the area I live in isn't really too good for haunts. I mean, we got Fright World and Grizzlies, and that's about it for decent haunts nearby. And those are the two best haunts I've done prior to this. And they're good, they're solid haunts, but they're nothing that anyone's calling like a top haunt in the world, not even close. I knew that I definitely had to get out to one of these ultra elite haunts like Penhurst Asylum, Dent Schoolhouse, Reaper's Revenge, which is obviously what I did. It's about 3 hours away from me, so I thought it was worth the drive. Just go up Friday after school, get there early and get in there. And I will tell you, I had some really, really high expectations. I've heard people call this the best haunt in the world before. So I was expecting this to annihilate Fright World or Grizzlies. And somehow it exceeded those expectations. I'm basically just going to take you through my night and discuss everything I saw in order. So to start off, we're going to talk about how to get here in the parking situation. So the first time I actually came here, it was a couple weeks ago, and it was Columbus Day weekend, and it was just mobbed. The main parking lot was just swarmed, cars everywhere. That already looked bad, but then the overflow lot was full. So we just decided, yeah, there's no chance we're waiting 4 hours or whatever the wait time was, because it would just be downright absurd. We'd get back home at like 4 a.m., and we were not doing that, especially with me having driver's ed. Last night, it was much less crowded. It was November 1st, so Halloween was just over. I think that's a pretty good time to go, just because I feel like a lot of people are like, okay, Halloween's over, so I'm not really into it anymore. So that's a pretty good time to go, I feel like, right after Halloween if they're open past that. It's $3 for parking, and we got literally as close as you can possibly get to the security line, so that was really good. And the staff here are all really friendly, especially these parking people. They'll definitely hang out with you and talk with you. And we did get there a half hour before the box office opened, which was 6 o'clock. So we were there at 5:30, standing around, waiting for it to open. We were one of the first few people in line, which was really good. I was worried that we wouldn't even be, but like I said, it wasn't the most crowded night. And the first thing I noticed had nothing to do with the haunt in general. This was that they had the old sign for Hurler out there just in a junkyard or something by a bus. You've seen it in this footage that I've showed. It's so random. I don't know why they have it. I don't know if they won it from an auction or if they're friends with someone from King's Dominion, but they have the old entrance sign, and it's not even on display. It's just out there in the back. You can barely see it, like you have to look for it. It's so cool, though. They were definitely off to a good start. So then, once they opened at 6 o'clock, they let us through security, and it was a very good process. They had us take all of our stuff out of our pockets, phone, keys, everything, and then you just walk right through, pick your stuff up. It's like the airport. So it's good stuff. They run a good system here. And then you actually walk through the pathway to get to the lobby area. And it's this long stretch over this creek, through the woods. It's really cool. You go under this arch saying Reaper's Revenge. The Reaper himself is out there as an actor, not really scaring people, just sort of being there, which is okay, because, maybe not everyone who's going through this is actually going to go in the haunt, so maybe they don't want to get scared too bad. So that's definitely okay, but it's just a nice scenic walk back there to the actual lobby area. And before you actually get in and scan your ticket, you're going to notice Sector 13 right away. And I'll say this right now, and I'll say it again when we get to Sector 13. This is one of, if not the coolest facade for any building I've ever seen, especially at night. Unfortunately, I couldn't get too much good footage of it, but oh my god, it's just a masterclass. This is literally everything you could possibly do with a military-based theme. I mean, it's perfection. I'll get to it more later when we actually get into Sector 13, which will be a long time from now, but still. So you're going to actually go up to the box office. If you need to get your tickets, you're going to get them there, and you're going to sign your waiver, buy them, everything. It's a $70 ticket. It's pricey, but it's worth it. It's worth every single penny you spend. If you buy online, it's about the same, and the online order comes with the waiver, so you won't have to sign it again. Now, I will note, if you're under 18 like I am, your parent does have to sign the waiver for you. But again, if it's online, it doesn't really matter. So that really only matters a lot when it comes to the in-person waiver. So if you have your ticket online, it's fine. While we're talking about the waiver, I will mention this right now. I think most of you watching this should know this, but Reapers is a touch haunt. And this isn't just like Nightmares out in Canada, where they'll like grab your shoulder and ankle or whatever. No, they will get aggressive. It is amazing what they do here. If you're a thuzy watching this and you're used to Cedar Point and Hershey Park and maybe even Halloween Horror Nights, no, you are not ready for what you're about to experience here at Reapers. So once you get past the box office, you're going to enter the main lobby area, and it's a great setup. You've got the fire right in the middle. You've got plenty of porta potties. There's one in particular that actually when you open it, there's a skull in there and then he kind of pees on you. It's really funny. And there's also a ton of food trucks. I didn't get any food here, but I've heard from other people that it's really good stuff. They got like deep fried hot chocolate. They got cheesesteak fries or something. It's really good stuff, apparently. So then once you're done taking that all in, and you could take it in after you're done with the haunt too, you're going to actually enter the line. You enter through these 3 giant skeletons, which is really cool. And you'll notice it is a very lengthy queue. You can definitely tell you do not want to wait through all this. You will be screwed if you end up waiting through all of this. I can definitely see how this thing can get full based off of the crowds I saw that Columbus Day weekend. And yeah, you do not want to wait through this. They have a hot chocolate stand in the middle of it. They've got this screen playing different horror movies, which is really cool. They got a few other decorations, but nothing too crazy. They got one more set of porta potties like 10 minutes before you actually get in there. And then once you actually get to the end of the line, they're going to give you a little stamp. I'm not really sure what that's for, because they didn't really do anything with it later. They just kind of took the ticket and then stamped me and then didn't check the stamp later. Which, I mean, I don't really care about, but okay. This is also where I noticed a few other actors in the main lobby area. Again, these actors, I don't feel like they're supposed to be as intense as the ones in the actual haunt. It's just kind of cool having them around and interacting with people in the queue in the lobby. So then they're going to assign you to one of 5 rows. And this is also where the VIP line merges. So if you are there on one of those super crowded days, that can be really helpful. But you're going to go into one of 5 lines. Line 1's going to go first. Line 2's going to go second. I was in line 3, so I was the 3rd tractor of the night, which was really cool. They're going to play this actually pretty funny safety video in the queue line before you actually get on. It's actually kind of funny. It's a safety video that I actually don't mind them playing a ton, and it's going over the basic stuff. Don't touch the actors, but they can touch you. Don't use flash photography, anything like that, So then after that, you'll actually get onto the hayride. It's a pretty cool setup. They have you facing each other, and you sit on these hay bales. So I was able to get the the front right corner of the hayride. So I could get some pretty good scares there from people jumping out in the front. So I was definitely really happy about that. I do think this first part of the hayride would have been slightly better on the other side, on the left side, just from like where you get a better view. But again, you can always just turn your neck and then you could see everything. So it doesn't really matter too much. But with that being said, you're going to start the hayride. And the first couple minutes is obviously just getting back there. There's nothing too good there. But that is the only dead space on this hayride. Now, I'm not going to get into literally everything about all these 5 haunts, but I will take a pretty deep dive into these and mention all the really good scenes. So you're going to start off by just pulling up to this grand facade. I mean, I don't even know how else to explain it. You've got this animatronic overhead, and he's the Reaper himself just explaining everything in the hayride. And there's an animatronic that pops out on the left side, and the animatronics in here can actually touch you. Like, they're not going to hurt, obviously, but the puppets and animatronics, they can sort of grab you. It's really cool, and there's also an actor there that can touch you on the right side, so you sort of get it both sides, which is really cool. There's this fire that shoots out. It's just this grand set, and that's sort of a big theme throughout Reapers, is everything is larger than life. It is not a normal haunt. It is more like a Broadway production, but in haunt form. After that, you got this really cool sort of ritual scene where you have these 4 statues just surrounding a big cauldron or something with this massive screen of Wicker Man from Alton Towers. I mean, I don't think that's what it's supposed to be, but that's instantly what I've thought of when I first saw that. I'm like, this is Wicker Man. The theme and everything seems exactly like what Wicker Man would be. So that was really cool, even though it's definitely not Wicker Man. And the cult leader or whatever actually just goes up and announces like your doom or whatever. And someone goes up and marks you with blood. Doesn't mark everyone, but marks like a quarter of the people on the tractor with blood. So that's really cool. And then this is where you really notice. In between each scene, like when you're transitioning between the scenes, there is always something to look at. It is not a normal hayride where it's just blank space in between all the scenes. You're just flying through the woods. No, there is stuff to look at wherever you go. And it is depth. Like, they add real depth to this. It is not just a few ghosts or props here and there. They go like hundreds of feet back into the woods with these lights, just creating full-on divine paintings or something. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so cool. The extra lengths they go to add fine details like this to just make the hayride so much better. The next big scene is Thriller. This is one of my favorites. You've got these 4 zombies that are attacking you. You know, they'll grab your head and stuff. And all of a sudden, this disco ball drops. And then they get off the cart and do actually a pretty good choreographed dance to Thriller by Michael Jackson. And then you guys all know the end of the song where it sort of just drops and then you have the laughter at the end. Well, when that happens, everything goes dark. And then when the laughter starts, they are in your face. This one guy in particular was just like right there in my face right when the laughter started. It is very good. And then you move on to the next scene, and again, you get that depth. There's a couple other stuff that happens before Alice in Wonderland, but it's not as notable, so I'll skip it just for time's sake. But you get to Alice in Wonderland, which is a very notable scene. You've got all these lights around you. It is very cool how they did it. It's really unique. And there's like Alice, but she's demented or something. It's really cool. And she's talking to this screen of the cat. I'm not really sure who the cat is, but I don't really care. All I know is the cat looked creepy as hell. It was definitely not the normal version of the cat. You could definitely tell. And the cat's just sort of explaining everything. And it's genius. You're heading towards the screen, but it's double-sided. So then when you're past the screen, you're still looking at the cat because he's still talking. And then there's an actor waiting to jump at you. And so I'm looking at this cat, and then the actor just grabs me, and it's greatness, and she just starts going off on everyone. And the biggest thing here at the end of the scene is this huge skull animatronic thing that just drops this card on you. He has this giant card on his stomach, and then it just starts tilting on you, and it looks like it's going to come down on the wagon, but of course it doesn't, because it can't, or else you're going to die. And after the scene's over, this is just another example of them going way above what anyone asked of them. They have this whole trippy set of squares that just look like they go on for miles ahead of you right before you're about to turn to the left. And it adds so much depth to the end of this scene. And they do not need that. They could just keep it as the woods back there, and no one would complain. But they add that depth to the scene, and it adds so much that you wouldn't even think of before you have it. And it's just so genius. It works so well. There's more depth in between the scenes than anything else that I could even think of. I absolutely believe it when everyone says this is the best hayride in the world. You've got a couple more good scenes before this first part of the hayride's over. You've got this sort of spider scene where a spider drops from above. It's pretty cool. And you've got one pretty good actor on there. There's some really creepy music. The music and sounds in this whole show really are insane. They are masters of sound. It is incredible how they know how to put what sound where to make it just the right atmosphere. And that's really shown in this scene in particular. And then finally you end out with the best scene in the hayride, in my opinion, Freddy Krueger. Oh my god, I love this scene so much. He jumps out, you've got pyrotechnics and everything, and Freddy's just all over everyone, just cutting them up. He goes up to my neck and starts dragging his claws across my neck. It's really cool. You can obviously tell they're not real claws. They're not actually able to cut you. But it's still so cool how he just grabs you and then starts slowly dragging the claws across your neck. And that's the other huge thing that separates this hayride from everyone else. Usually I'm not a huge fan of hayrides just because there's too many people and usually you don't get all the scares. Here, you're going to get some sort of scare on every single scene. You will not be left out. Freddy will attack you. Everyone will get to you. And if not everyone gets to you, someone in that scene will get to you and give you some sort of scare. It is amazing how they distribute the scares between everyone. And to top it all off, at the end of the scene, Freddy Krueger snaps his claws, and then this huge ball of fire ignites and shoots up into the sky right when that happens, like a magic trick. It is the perfect end of the first part of this whole experience and leaves everyone on the tractor in awe. So then you're going to hit the sheriff's room and they're going to be like, oh yeah, you're messing around in these parts or whatever, I don't even know. It's something weird like that. And then they drag you into this interrogation room and, it's just like a normal conversation, right? And all of a sudden the lights go out and the sheriff and this one other actor are just in your face this entire time for a couple minutes when the lights keep going on and off. And eventually you'll get let out. And this seems like a normal part of the show, but this is actually just the most genius holding pen ever. Because obviously they need to let some people from Carnival go ahead. They need to get that distance. And this is just one of the most genius ways you could ever do a holding pen. And there's this little walkthrough before you get into the line for Carnival with a couple good actors and some good sets. It's a warm-up for what's to come. So you will be waiting in a line to get into Lost Carnival, but it's 3 minutes because you're only waiting for the people in the tractor. So if there were only 20 people in there and you were the first out, then you're going right in. If you're like me and you were in the very front, then you're going to be waiting 5 minutes, but it doesn't really matter. If you are a solo person like I was, they will pair you with someone, but thankfully I was paired with a couple pretty good people, so that was nice that I didn't get stuck with someone annoying. But frankly, I don't think Reaper's Revenge gets many annoying kids. I feel like pretty much all the kids I saw were pretty normal. and actually civil. And I think that just has to do with the kind of audience Reapers draws. You're not getting like annoying teenagers who are just going to vape like you do at Fright World or places like that. Because this is a full-on experience. People go to Reapers to get scared. They don't just go to hang out with their buddies, you know? You go to Reapers with a purpose. So I think for the most part, the clientele that goes here is pretty good. So now, you're finally going to get into Lost Carnival. Everything about this whole Reaper's Revenge experience is phenomenal. But Lost Carnival just is on a whole nother level from anything I've ever seen, period. The sets in here are way better than anything I've ever seen, even at a highly themed park like Dollywood or Universal. It is just mind-blowing how they did this and how like a family-owned haunt was able to set all this insane scenery up. You will be absolutely mind-blown by the scale of these sets. Like, if you really didn't want spoilers before, but you still watched it for some reason, really skip ahead at this point, because Lost Carnival is truly something special. But for those of you who have been here and who still want to hear everything for your kids or whatever, then take a listen, because this is perfection. This is the pinnacle of everything you can do with theming and scares. You start off with intensity. You start off with actors not only grabbing your ankles, grabbing just your whole body, and they're intense. They come out of nowhere. They have good hiding spots. There's these puppets or animatronics that will just like grab you. It's really cool. It's an intense way to start off. And then you hit the grand reveal. You've got this full-sized Carnival Ferris wheel looking rotted, running by itself. I just could not believe it. I mean, I see Ferris wheels all the time, but not in this state. It is so amazing how they dressed it up, how they do the lighting on it, and how it's just running on its own. It's incredible to watch. And you enter the Carnival Games room. This is one of the best ever. It's not a room, it's outside, but you get the point. It's a scene, and the actors are aggressive. They'll just jump from the game booths to grab you. And one of them in particular, they're like, step right up, try to throw the balls at the milk jugs. And I grab the ball, and it's this weird slimy material I've never felt before, and they're just laughing at me after that. There's another actor in the bushes right after that that'll get you, grab your ankles and whatever. You can't tell that's about to happen. It is nonstop. And then right before you enter the first like indoor section, there's this actor that just, oh my god. He's standing right there. You can see him. It's no surprise that he's there. But then he'll just grab your face all over and start just breathing down your neck, and does it to everyone. You cannot tell that's about to happen. And I was in the front out of the 3 people with me for all of Carnival and Delirium. So yeah, I got that pretty good because I could not tell that he was about to do that. It is just nonstop aggression. It is so far ahead of anything I've ever experienced. It's incredible. And it's impossible to explain how cool it is getting all these scares while appreciating all these sets. Again, you've got that Ferris wheel to pay attention to, but all the games and everything, there's so many hidden details, like the prizes that are on the rack, the actual displays themselves. It's a masterclass. There's truly nothing like it out there. After that, you're going to enter the first indoor section for a good bit. It's really good. There's not too much that's too notable in this first part, but it's just all really intense actors, intense scares, good sets, definitely a lot of intensity just in your face. There's no other way to explain it, but there's no one actor or anything that stood out. It's just all insanity. So then you get outside and you're right alongside the Ferris wheel. You've got this old paratrooper thing just dilapidated and leaves and sticks, just looking rusted. It's an old seat, so it's really cool. And there's an actor there right by the Ferris wheel, and she's good. Like, she'll go out and she'll scare people, and she definitely got the person in the middle of our group. It's just insane being, like, scared and you jump a little, but you're still in awe from everything you're looking at. And then I look down, and there's this whole ass merry-go-round that is just falling apart. There's some horses that aren't on there. Everything's just crumbling to pieces, and it's all lit up and everything. There's this really good actor right before you get up to it, and she got me while I'm looking at this carousel, and it's just perfection, how they do everything. The sets and how good they are distractions for the scares, and it works masterfully. So then they'll hold you for a bit to let the person in front of you go, because I saw the person in front just get into the gypsy room. So they'll hold you there for a bit and sort of keep the immersion going still. And I'm just paying attention to the Ferris wheel, the carousel. There's this full-on roller coaster up above. It's not operating, obviously, because, I'd have to get the credit if it was. But it's just this wooden track above you. And I wonder if that's Hurler. That could just be old parts of Hurler, given that the sign's there at the front. But anyways, it's really cool to look at. Just everything's insane, especially for a thuzy like me. So then he's going to let you into the gypsy room. This is one of the best scenes for sure. The lighting in this entire place is fantastic, but the gypsy room is definitely one of the best. It's just lit so well. The actors are really good. There's a main one that's sort of explaining the story and everything, and then another just bombarding you with attacks through these holes that she opens. You get the scares from the doors actually sliding open and stuff, and then you get the scares from her grabbing your ankles and shoulders and everything and your face. It's just amazing. You have to duck under this thing too. And the ending part of Carnival is fantastic. There's a few other scenes with like this heavy metal music and everything. But then, oh my god, the way they end this is perfect. You enter this really trippy hallway that has these flashing lights, these squares, and if you've been here, you know how trippy this is. As you walk along, it looks like the walls are caving in on you the further you go down this hall. It's really cool. It looks like really wide at first, and then looks like you're going to get crushed by the end. And then, oh my god, last minute, the actor pops out of the door. And I was wondering, like, okay, is this going to be some grand scene where people just come out of nowhere? And it's not. The door's right to the right of you. But the actor pops out first and just, oh my god, it's perfect. You cannot tell that the actor's actually going to pop out of that door. I honestly thought it was more likely that he was going to pop out from the right instead of right in front of you. And of course, with me being in the front, that was a fantastic scare. And I don't think it would be quite as good if you didn't have the disorientation before from the illusion. And then he opens the door to the right, and you get out. There's a chainsaw there, but that's definitely not the best chainsaw in Reapers. There's one other, or two others really, that are definitely better. So then you're going to head out of Lost Carnival. That was incredible. Again, no other amusement park I've seen. I've seen Fantasy Springs. I've seen what Epic Universe is cooking up. In my opinion, those all look phenomenal, but in terms of sets, just something about how Lost Carnival executes the dilapidated carnival theme. There's just no cooler looking place out there, period. And combine that with maybe the most aggressive scares you can possibly imagine, and oh my god, it's perfection. You don't understand how good Lost Carnival is until you get in it. So then you're going to enter Delirium. It's another couple minute wait, but it's whatever. You have to put on the glasses anyways. And this is the 3D haunt. This is definitely the one out of the walkthroughs I was least looking forward to. And I do think it's the worst, but by no means is it bad. It is still fantastic. It definitely exceeded my expectations for a 3D walkthrough. I'll say there's a few actors before you get in for pretty much all of the haunts, which is pretty cool. They'll interact with you, and once you actually get in to Delirium, you're going to notice right away that everything feels real. The ground is coming up, and it's like over your ankles, these dots in the ground. The walls just don't feel right. It's so cool how this 3D works. I definitely expected it to be worse than it actually was. And the actors in here definitely aren't quite as aggressive as Carnival, I felt, but there's some that are amazing. It might have just been that I didn't get as many scares as the second person in our group. I definitely think she got the most of it in this one, but that being said, I still definitely got plenty of good scares. There's a lot of good effects in here. I think for the most part, a lot of Delirium blends, so there's not as many distinct scenes. It all feels like one sort of fun house, but there are a couple in particular. There's a few really good, like, sliding doors that just come shut and then open up really quick, and they make a big sound, and the actors just reach out and grab you. It's good stuff. It's nothing too original for this place, but it's really good still. The star of the show here is definitely towards the end. There's a really, really aggressive actor in there that's just throwing these blocks all around. It's like something that you'd see in like Sky Zone with like the hanging blocks from the ceiling. She's just like throwing them at you, and with the 3D, it's really trippy. Like, I know they're probably like foam, but I still like jumped back a few times, and she will just get right up to your ankles and then just jump up and throw these blocks at you, and it's really aggressive. And then when you turn the corner, there's an actor just jumping out at you, and then another actor right in front of you after that. It's just non-stop in there, and the rest of Delirium is really good too, but it just didn't quite hit or have the uniqueness of some of the others, which is why it is the weakest of the 5, but again, it's still pretty much the best they could do with a 3D haunt like this. And I'll say that was also probably the shortest one, but it was still probably around 10 minutes. Like, Carnival's probably slightly longer than the others. Maybe Pitch Black's on par with Carnival, and they feel like around 15 minutes when you're actually doing stuff, whereas Sector 13 and Delirium here feel like about 10 minutes of actually doing stuff, and the Hayride's like a half hour of actually on it. And there's a few minutes of in-between stuff, so it's pretty much about exactly an hour and a half, which is absurdly long. So then after Delirium, I did not expect this to happen. You get back on the Hayride. I thought it was over after Freddy Krueger, but nope, we're back on for a few more scenes. There's a couple really good ones, this one with the cowboys and everything. But then the final scene, before you actually get into Pitch Black, oh my god, this is another really good one. They shut the doors in on you. There's a really impressive animatronic on top. Really, every single animatronic you're going to see here is phenomenal. There's a couple other puppets and animatronics in the previous Hayride that were like dinosaurs that just came out with the big animatronic up top. That was really cool. It was really large scale, and this is large scale as well. You've got an actor behind me, because I was on the left side this time, so the actor was behind me and just sort of dropped a plastic spider and then just started attacking me. It was really good there. And then you've got one of the most impressive parts of the night, which was this chainsaw guy. At this point, I'm not really a huge fan of chainsaws, because I know they're not real, but what this guy does with the chainsaw is incredible. Because it's a touch haunt, you can really do anything you want, and this guy just goes up everywhere and starts like sawing off your foot. Like, he came up to me and like just threw the chainsaw on my foot and started like sawing it off. Obviously it didn't come off because the blade's not on, but it's amazing. It's so good. So much better than anything I've seen anyone else do with a chainsaw. Like, I haven't seen anyone actually like put the chainsaw on you. Like, I've just seen a like come close to the ground and flare up sparks, but I've never seen anyone actually try to saw off like their foot, you know, and he did that to multiple people. Again, he gets around to everyone on the Hayride. So then finally you're going to leave the Hayride. That's the end of it. Before you get into Pitch Black, you'll see some porta potties that you can use in case you have to go before. And you're also going to see Mansion. Now, this is a haunt that's supposed to open next year, and it's going to be 4 stories tall from what I hear. I talked to someone there that told me it was going to be 4 stories tall, which is absurdity. The facade looks disgustingly good. I cannot believe how insanely good that facade looks. The facades of all the buildings in here are incredible, but Mansion also just looks, oh my god, incredible. So I cannot wait for that. I will probably prioritize something like Dent Schoolhouse or Penhurst Asylum if I can only get out to one elite haunt next year. But trust me, if I have the opportunity to come back to Reapers, I definitely will, just for Mansion. So then you actually get into Pitch Black. It's another really good looking facade, like an old coal mining building or something. And then you start off with a room that's definitely not pitch black. There's a couple actors in there kind of pushing you along through like this old coal mining looking thing. And then you actually get into the pitch black part. And it's really weird. It's not a sudden jarring like transition from light into dark. It's sort of a gradual fade into the darkness, because there's lightness in the previous room, and then suddenly it just becomes black. And most people consider this the most scary of the haunts, or to have the best scares. I'd personally still say Lost Carnival has the best scares, but I feel like they have a lot better distractions in Lost Carnival as well, because I'm focused on all this insane scenery in Carnival, whereas here in Pitch Black, there's quite literally nothing to look at. So that definitely plays to its advantage in terms of the actors hiding, because you can't really see them. And when they say pitch black, it is pitch black. This is not Nightmares in Canada. This is not any of the other pitch black rooms where you can sort of cheat it, look at the ceiling or the ground. No, you cannot see anything. You definitely have to feel around here. And what's genius is the walls are different textures. So you could start with like a nice flat wood wall, and then transition into something that's like a weird rough texture, and it'll really throw you off. There's like this slimy one at one point. It's really cool. You definitely don't know what's what, and there's nothing really guiding you until they want you to be guided. And there's a few scenes like that. The first one's really cool. They'll grab at your feet a couple times, and then all of a sudden these flashing lights just start flashing on you. And the one actor up top is visible. You can see that he's there. He's not really doing much. He's reaching out a couple times to people, but not really. And then the lights turn out, and I was in the back for this one. And oh my god, at the end, he just like grabs my face, and he's behind, so just grabs my forehead from behind and just starts dragging on my entire face and like pulling me back. And that happens multiple times in this haunt. That happened a few other times where they just pull on your face, and there's a ton of like the ankle grabs and just tripping you up and stuff like that. There's a ton of that, obviously, but oh my god, it's insane when you get one of those really good scares where they're just attacking you basically. And then obviously there's a lot of dead space in Pitch Black. There's a lot less than in other Pitch Black haunts for sure. Again, that's part of why I still think Carnival's the most intense, because in Pitch Black, there's nothing to pay attention to. You know what the actors are going to do. You don't know how they're going to do it, but you know they're going to come out from nowhere and then grab you. In Carnival, they could do literally anything. You have no clue what's about to happen in Carnival, especially since you're distracted by the amazing sets. You're not distracted by anything except how little you have to see in Pitch Black. So it is fantastic. In terms of raw scares and intensity, this is probably the best. But I'd still say in terms of scares overall, Carnival's slightly better. And I do like the challenge of just finding your way around. And these corners are not even. It's not perfect 90-degree angles. And it's also on an incline, so it's very cool. It's definitely one of the better ones here. But I don't think it's necessarily the best or even the second best. So then after that, you're going to get out and head into Sector 13, the last one. And this is a really inconsistent one. There's some really good scenes and scares in here. And then there's also a few duds. But before we get into that, I said this at the start of the video, and I'm going to say it again right now. This facade for Sector 13 is perfection. This is what every facade for not only haunts, for amusement parks, everything else should strive to be. I love the looks of Mansion and Pitch Black and everything, but I still think Sector 13 just, oh my god, it's perfect. You have the watchtower up top just flashing this light over and over again. You've got like these helicopter sounds and these warning sirens. Once again, the sounds are masterful. You also saw it in pitch black with all these random noises they play at just the right times. And here, they set the mood right before you even get into the building. And, oh my god, just the colors, the rotting, the fire that just ignites at random points. It is fantastic. It is perfection. This is what every building should look like. And all the actors at the start, before they're really trying to scare you, are insane. They are so into their role. They are really strict military generals, basically. It is incredible to see them, just how strict they look, how serious they are, just pushing you against the wall and like making you listen. But this brings me to the main complaint I have about Sector, is that you're guaranteed to go in a group of 5 here. And it's kind of annoying when you have that big of a group. I prefer less people, but it's okay. I was in the middle for this one, so I got a little more scares than I would have otherwise, I think. But anyways, you're going to start off by going into this room with this guy on a slider, this doctor on a slider who just came out and like slid over to me in the blink of an eye. It was really random, but it was pretty good. And then he opens the door to the decontamination room. This is like a elevator, but way more grand. It's a huge box, and there's all these sounds going on and everything. And this smoke just fills the room, and then the ground just starts rumbling. It feels like a elevator, but way more grand with all the lights and everything, the sounds. There's so much smoke in there. It smells very interesting, to say the least. But then once you finally get out of there, you're greeted with a shockingly disorienting room. Just thinking about this room, you wouldn't think that it's really disorienting, but you've got these showers and curtains and everything. And again, it doesn't sound like anything that should disorient you too much, but the way they have you walk through it is a bit strange. And he just came out of that decontamination chamber, so maybe that has to do with it. But also the actors in here are just extremely aggressive. They will just grab your ankles all over and everything. They will attack you in every way possible in here, which is really good. They will follow you into the next part, but then the next part is kind of lackluster. There's an actor that, oh my god, he tried to grab me. I could tell that he was looking at me. He reached his arm out, but then just narrowly missed me. That was a little sad. So that kind of sucked. But then you walk upstairs onto this platform, and you have like the helicopter noises and everything. It looks stunning. The lighting up here is incredible. But there's no actor. There's no actors up here. I really wish that there was some sort of scare up here. And you have this bridge that's like really wobbly. You had this right before Carnival too, where you walked across this bridge that sort of rocked side to side. You have the same thing here. But I really wish there was an actor on there. You're going to walk downstairs, and then you're going to get 2 pretty aggressive actors when you walk downstairs right away. And you're in with the aliens at this point. They are just all over the place. Some are really good. Like, there's one in particular that we were sort of waiting for a group in front of us to pass. And he was just in the window. You could see him, but then at random points, he just lunges out at you and grabs you. It's really good. And then you walk through a few other good rooms. Just really cool, gross stuff all over the place. And there's another room with the fog, the green fog, like below your ankles. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of places have it, and they do it pretty well here. The actors are well hidden, and there's another actor like banging on a container that jumps out. That's pretty startling. But this whole middle section of it is pretty lackluster compared to the rest of Reapers, in my opinion. But they definitely make up for it with the end of Sector 13. Starting it off, you've got one of my favorite actors ever, this doctor with the syringe. If you've been here, you know this doctor. Because he has the syringe. He looks like he's just about to stab you with the syringe. You think you know all the tricks in the book, right? You think, okay, obviously he's not going to actually stab me with the syringe, and if he does, it's just a little plastic thing, right? He's just going to pull it back and then Like, either just barely missed me or hit me with a little plastic fluffy thing or whatever. I did not account for what was actually about to happen. He pulls his arm back and gets ready to shoot it into my arm. I think I know what's about to happen. But then when he lunges the syringe at my arm, he just squirts this insane amount of water onto my arm in my sweatshirt. And I had zero clue that that's what was about to happen. There was no hint given to me that there was water in that syringe. He didn't touch me with it, but like when he dove his arm down, my arm just got absolutely soaked. That was one of the hardest jumps I've ever had. Because, again, I thought I knew every trick in the book. I thought I knew everything you could do with that type of scare. But somehow these guys came up with something that just absolutely shocked me. There's some other really aggressive actors with these human bodies out there right before the last scene. Some other good stuff in between as well. And then you have the last scene of the whole night, which is a chainsaw girl. And she's good. She doesn't like saw off your leg or anything insane. But she definitely hits the ground right before your feet. And it looks close. It looks like it's going to be a close call whether she's going to hit your feet or not. So it's good stuff. And that's the end of Sector 13, which means it's the end of Reaper's Revenge. After 46 minutes, we're through it all, which is insane that it took me that long to do a review, but I mean, I just needed that much time to really give Reaper's Revenge justice. Overall, if I had to rank the haunts, I would say 5 Delirium, 4 Sector 13, 3 Pitch Black, 2 Haunted Hayride, 1 Lost Carnival, with Lost Carnival definitely being 1, but everything else is a tough decision. You know, Sector 13, it has a few dead spots, but like, man, when it hit, it hit. Pitch Black, again, I don't think it can be number 1 just because it doesn't have the sets, but the scares in there are incredible. They're so aggressive in there. The Hayride. I did not think a Hayride could be that good. I thought that was honestly going to be 4 or 5. They proved to me that a Hayride can be ultra elite. And then Delirium at 5, again, it's not bad by any means. It is fantastic. It's just you compare it to all these other fantastic haunts, and it can't compete really. And then, oh my god, Lost Carnival, just perfection. Everything needs to be like Lost Carnival. I hope mansions like Lost Carnival in the future. I will try to get back out here next year to experience Mansion. So overall, what am I going to give Reaper's Revenge? I mean, it's a 10 out of 10, obviously. It's not going to get anything else. It's not going to get anything else lower, because it truly is one of the best in the world, if not the best. I personally haven't done enough to tell you if it's the best in the world, but I could believe it. I would not be surprised if this truly is the best in the world, because, I mean, again, I didn't have a very high bar to go over, but it's just in a whole nother universe from everything else I've done right now. So let me know what you guys think of Reaper's Revenge down in the comments below. Is this the world's best haunt? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.